Alright everybody, sorry about that. I actually thought I was going live this entire time and nothing ever really happened. So if you guys have been one of the 7 people that are still watching and waiting to get on, thanks for waiting this long, for as long as you have, because I am new at this. So yes, we were supposed to start at 3, but I was doing it wrong. So thanks for joining the very first episode of Decoy Court Live. We did this a long time ago and weren't able to get it to work out too well, but now we're here, now we're live again. So let's go ahead and get to the first section of this, where I'm just saying thank you for all the people going to r/decoynoise and posting your stories, your suggestions. We're gonna get through those today. I want to highlight a guy named Koi Boy that drew some fan art for the Decoy Koi Pond of things. He said he was a little bashful about it and didn't like how it was going, but I really appreciate what he did over there. So yeah, all the fan art, all the other stuff that you guys are posting out there, I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get to the first story right now, which was requested by Nathan Reddit on a Am I the Antagonist thread. So I was actually already doing this before I realized I wasn't streaming. So let's go ahead and get to the first top post right now. So it says, am I the antagonist for giving my stepdaughter the stipulation of going on birth control in order to live with us? So OP wrote, I, a 35-year-old female, live with my husband, a 46-year-old male. We've been together for 5 years, married for 2 of those. Both of us are on our second marriage. I have a 9-year-old son from my first marriage, and he has 3 kids as well, a 20-year-old female, a 17-year-old female, and a 15-year-old male. The problem is, my eldest stepdaughter, Kara, she's had severe issues before I even met my husband. She has bipolar disorder and frequently doesn't take her medication or misses her doctor's appointments. She's been pregnant twice, the first one ended in a miscarriage, and her son is almost 100% raised by her mother. So I guess the biological mother, not Kara. Kara is going to be attending beauty school soon, which her mom and dad are paying out of pocket over $18,000 just for tuition. She'll also be living with me and my husband and my son since we're only 10 minutes from her school. Note, my husband and I live together in my house. I say my house because I bought it before we married and we have a prenup and separate bank accounts. He and I earn roughly the same amount at our jobs. I won't be contributing to Kara's tuition, but I'll let her live with us rent-free. However, I told her some stipulations. She stays on her bipolar meds, she stops going out every weekend, and she starts birth control. I don't want her having any more unplanned kids under my roof. Her only excuse for not taking birth control is that she regularly forgets to take it consistently. I told her there is long-term birth control she can take, and I'll even drive her to her doctor's appointments. Doctors for it so her dad doesn't have to. She doesn't have a car. She's been resistant, and I'm saying I'm trying to control her reproductive health, which, yes, I guess in a way I am, but she has a track record of being unsafe and irresponsible, and if her parents and I are going to help her out significantly, I think she should take more precautions. My husband seems split on the issue. He wants to help Kara, but he also knows I have a point. Kara's mother actually agrees with me. Kara's upset and thinks we're being controlling even though she's an adult and trying to get her life back on track. Too long didn't read, my stepdaughter has a history of being irresponsible, and I wanted to go on birth control since she'll be living at my house while in school. Edit, I'm not saying we should go back on the pill. I think that, okay, copy, so that's a little bit more scientific stuff I'm not gonna go into. And the other edit, while I appreciate the suggestion of telling Kara she will be kicked out if she becomes pregnant, that's not realistic. Her dad would not kick her out, and I'm not okay with throwing out a pregnant, mentally ill girl on the streets. Her mom already has 3 kids in her home and wouldn't take Kara in if it came down to it. She said that much already. So actually, while my computer's heating up right now, I need to go turn on my AC. I'll be right back. Alright, so before we gotta take this, as always, over to Decoy Court, where I give you my knee-jerk reaction to the situation right now. And honestly, with this being the case where I don't really blame OP for saying, hey, I want to have stipulations, because when you live under my roof, I need to have, like, you know, set the ground rules. But we're not talking about somebody that's, like, you know, younger. We're talking about someone that's 20 that already has 1 kid of their own. So the situation where they're trying to control, like, you know, whether they're on birth control or not seems a little bit more absurd to me. The idea is, yes, it makes sense when you traditionally have kids in school, but not at this point in time. I just kind of think this is a bad idea right off the get-go, where, yeah, they're older, they're a mess up, you're going to bring them back in the house, but it's just going to cause more issues. Regardless or not that Kara says, oh, I'll do it, I'll go on the control to, like, you know, abide by your rules, it's probably not going to happen the way they said it. And if she's irresponsible and going to be making these mistakes again, they're going to deal with it. The whole, we don't want to kick out a pregnant lady, you know, and they also don't want to raise a new kid in the household. That's almost an inevitability with this person that seems like an overall just a screw up person. So I mean, I get where they're coming from, but I think this is just a bad idea. I guess the decoy defense in this situation right now would be that maybe the OP, who's a stepmom, doesn't like the way Kara's going through her life, so maybe she just wants to figure out a way to start controlling her, saying, hey, you can go to a beauty school right next to the house. Oh, don't go to the beauty school you wanted to go 3 states away. How about you stay near here? Yeah, you can live over here. Your dad will pay your tuition. We'll take care of you, free room and board. And then later on, much later on, she's like, by the way, no more babies. I have an appointment with you. I'm going to drive you over to get this other copper implant right now. And it's all scaring her. And it's like a very, very controlling situation that, you know, she didn't originally anticipate when she took the deal to stay there with OP. But before we get to the top comments and the controversial comments, actually, I'll give you my opinion. They're not the antagonist, or maybe even possibly no antagonist here, because everybody has their mind in right places except for in the decoy defense where she's severely manipulative. But like, you know what? Let's go ahead and get to your comments over here and see what everybody else is saying right now, because this will be a little bit different. So yeah, everybody was complaining that I didn't start it. That was my mistake. Okay, Love Zan, thanks for coming by since 500 subs and hanging out with me. Someone talking about an antique clothing iron. Okay. And then, yeah, it's very reasonable. Everybody seems to think that not the antagonist, and the fact that she has one kid that she isn't raising already is enough. But the fact that she's living rent-free, those are reasonable conditions, and OP is helping her out. So yeah, Perpetual AE, I agree with you as well. So no break, let's just go ahead and get to the top comment after we've already given our judgment. But we're at 15 viewers, so that's great. So if you're not already, but you probably are, make sure you subscribe down below with the notifications on, so we can kind of get into these. You can be the first to be notified if I'm going to do a live stream at a different time. But the top post over here was, you know, not the antagonist. If she dug her heels in, and you end up renting, tell her you and your husband you will kick her the F out if she gets pregnant. Maybe have a move-in agreement drafted for future issues. Edit. Gotcha. She can't write it down. The logic was that OP said you need to be on birth control, which implied to me that there would be consequences for getting pregnant. The entire concept of writing down so if daughter gets pregnant is she can't claim you never said that. Also, daughter is 20, not 14. It's time to be an adult. If she gets pregnant, she has 9 months to find a place. Which is good that the OP already kind of counteracted that issue, because it's one of those situations like, I want to help you out. But OP says, I'll help out my stepdaughter, but not be on the burden and raising another kid in my house because she's irresponsible and just doesn't know how to, like, you know, manage her life. The only situation that I would say is she's not gonna be able to kick him out. Like the father, her new husband, the Kara's real dad, they're not going to kick her out when she gets pregnant, even though they know that's going to be somewhat of an inevitability. But let's go ahead and get to the next top post, saying, not the antagonist. I see lots of controversy on this one, and I understand. I would, however, like to point out that you are not forcing her to be on the pill. You are saying if she chooses to be on it, then she can live with you rent-free. The choice is still hers. The bipolar pills and treatment, I think, is 100% reasonable, since it's literally what she needs, and you're willing to help her. So the other thing with this is, you're trying to say, like, you need to be an adult, but we're letting you move in rent-free. That's like saying, okay, I'm going to pull you back into your infancy. Like, that's kind of contradictory. I don't think that you can simultaneously say, hey, you need to be an adult, but we're also going to baby you right now. It's like, no, I don't think you can do those things at the same time. And in the comments over on us right now, or not the antagonist, as a senior in life, Kara needs to see that she's offering a great deal. Yeah, everybody's just thinking that Kara's irresponsible and the daughter needs to live in the house by OP's rules. And I believe if you guys are watching this later on, you could still see the live chat down below as it goes along. But let's go ahead and get to some controversial comments in this particular post, because this is going to probably be a bit back and forth, I'm guessing. So someone's saying that OP is the antagonist. They're saying, you're the antagonist. I understand where you're coming from, but you cannot stipulate what medication she goes on, especially with how many birth control affects a person's body. It very well could make her much worse or put her in a lot of pain. The bipolar meds are reasonable, but you have no right to demand she go on birth control. You can stipulate that she will not live with you guys unless if she gets pregnant, but not force her to go on birth control. It's not your body, not your choice. Point buried blank. And the thing is, though, is I do understand what they're saying, where they're like, yeah, you can't just decide whether or not they go on this the birth control. You can't decide how they live their life. If they want to have more kids, they have more kids. But they're trying to figure, they're doing this weird thing where it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Yes, you're a kid in my home, but you're also an adult. It's like, it's got to be one or the other. Unfortunately, I feel like at 20 years old, if you're messing up that much, it's time to pay the piper, and you're going to start to have consequences for your previous actions, which were having kids, having consequences for, you know, your lack of responsibility, and people are going to judge you as such. So I just feel like, yes, I understand where this controversial comment is coming from, but just, it's not applicable to somebody this bad right now. Other replies from Cat Smith saying that I grew up with parents that threatened me, kick me out if I got pregnant. Not sure if that's a smart move, but it never happened, which is just something you say to kids when they're in the household, so it makes sense. And I'm guessing Cat Smith is talking about when they were growing up as a kid, not as a 20-year-old adult going through college. And then the next person saying, if the daughter wants to live in OP's house, she has to follow OP's rules, which is true. Thank you, Brian Clark, which is not even a controversial request to say, if you're going to live here, you're going to follow my rules. But let's go ahead and get to the next post right now, which was on the Decoy Court. Oh, there we go. The Decoy r/Decoy Noise, where Brunette Mountain Lion was asking me to cover a story on Am I the Antagonist, which was, am I the antagonist for not letting my kids eat meat in my house? So the post says, I have alpha gal syndrome. It means I'm allergic to red meat. It's caused by getting bit by a Lone Star tick. The bite is painless, so most people don't know about when they get bit. All I know is when I was 12, I started getting sick really often. And when I went to the doctor, they tested me for allergies and found out it was this. That sounds miserable. Once I got to college, I met my husband, who's been vegan since high school. After we got serious, I went vegan with him since he's an incredible cook and I've been an animal lover my whole life anyway. Fast forward to now, we have 3 kids, triplets, 2 girls and a boy. They've been raised 100% vegan. And in order to make sure they won't go astray of our values, we agreed that we just tell them that we're allergic to meat and dairy since I'm allergic to red meat anyway. The kids never express a desire to try animal products. We're all perfectly content with the way we eat as a family, especially as my husband, nurse practitioner, and I, a registered nurse, obviously know about staying healthy, but our extended families insist on getting involved in our parenting. We're used to shutting them down, but recently, they crossed a line. My husband and I both work 4th of July, and since restrictions lifted in my state, my parents had social distancing barbecue. My husband made sure to bring a field roast hot dogs when he dropped them off at our house. We even provided them with a cast iron skillet to cook them, and we thought everything would be fine, but nope. When I came to pick them up, my daughters are crying, and my son looked angrier than I've ever seen. He screamed that I was a liar and asked what the heck happened. He said my parents swapped out the hot dogs and didn't tell them that they've eaten sausage until they finished. My parents also gave them a baked beans with pork, potato salad with mayo, and all sorts of other stuff I didn't want them eating. The only thing is they didn't give them dairy. Jeez. Because they could be lactose intolerant. I sincerely doubt my parents thought of that, but thankfully their negligence didn't cause my kids to have bathroom issues. But they made my home life heck. Now the kids are demanding we let them eat meat. We told them that when they grow up and they move out, they can eat whatever they want, but until then, no animal products in our house. The kids have now gone on strike, as they call it, but I like to call them wanting to get grounded for not doing chores. I was hoping they would get over it and start behaving again, but it's been weeks now. They still eat our cooking, but they refuse to come down for dinner. We had to bring their food to them. It's insane. I've been standing my ground, but my husband's starting to soften. Last night he broke down and said we should let them eat whatever they want as long as it's healthy. At first I was upset with him for giving in, but he's insisting that we let them break the rules. Now my husband is barely talking to me, and I feel like an outsider in my home. So, as always, take the case straight over to Decoy Court, where I kind of figure out like a situation that, you know, I'm an animal lover, but I'm also a big like meat eater. Like I know it's a terrible thing, but you know, I love meat, and the idea that anybody would, like, you know, have a household that doesn't have it is very, very foreign to me, so I'm gonna have a very biased opinion. And honestly, if I've gone maybe like a couple days without eating something that once had a face on it, which is a very sad way to put it, but you gotta be honest with yourself, and it's like, for the first time, these kids, I don't think they say the age of them. I don't think they do, but they have three kids, triplets, and they're vegan, and the first time they probably actually had 100% genuine beef or maybe bacon or, like, you know, even potato salad with mayo, their taste buds were probably exploding and they were having such a good time, so I could see why they would be very, very upset with the whole situation, and they would want to eat that meat. And the idea that they've been essentially lying to the kids the entire time, like, oh yeah, we're allergic to all this stuff and they can't have it, and then realizing from, you know, when they're relatives are saying, no, this isn't actually what's happening, you can actually have meat, it's okay. I wouldn't say I would go on strike, but I would feel a little bit spurned by my parents, like, why'd you lie to us just to make your parenting a little bit easier on us? I would go ahead and say that the inverse of this would be, you know, the decoy defense is possibly, I've heard of that thing with the Lyme disease where the tick can bite you and sometimes it makes them where they're allergic to red meat, but maybe they obviously they're an RN and a nurse practitioner, so obviously they know how that works, but maybe there's a slight possibility that could be passed down from, you know, parent to child with a red meat allergy, but that still doesn't really help it out. So You know what? I'm gonna go have to say right now, with just, my opinion on this, is they're probably the antagonists in a kind of messed up way. They probably just want the best for their kids, and they're feeding them healthy food and probably giving them a good livelihood, and not to go too much in their parenting. But it is a messed up thing just to say, hey, we have an allergy to this thing, so you can't have it, just out of convenience, with not giving the children a genuine response. But before we get to the top and controversial comments, let's go ahead and get to the live chat right now, because now we're at 25 viewers, which is great. So let's see. What is, I gotta scroll up quite a bit, so I went too far back. Okay, so yeah, the mirror, what's in, if that's a background in the mirror, yes, this is a whole bunch of tiny mirrors from IKEA that just, looks like a honeycomb. I kind of like it. Why would you lie to your children having allergies? Yes, Justin Jones. I don't know why you would do that other than just making your parenting a little bit easier, which I feel like would be an unfair thing. But, the Cat Smith says, sounds like the kids never knew either way. And Tamia Cook is saying, no antagonist here. The kids are right to be mad, but OP has a right to set the rules, and the husband has a right to want to change the rules, which makes sense that they would have a different, idea as to how to handle the kids. So that makes sense. Poltergeist saying he thinks he's the antagonist, but he understands why, because it probably made it easier for to raise the kids, and also just, not having a fight back and forth, because obviously the kids are going to go to school, they're going to have friends, they're going to go places, and they're going to get exposed to it somewhere else. So maybe that is why they would be the antagonist. And the Perpetual says, those kids don't know any better. Their life has been lied to about their health. I would feel the same way. You can't force them to do something they don't want to do. And yeah, and then Loves Ann says, if she didn't lie about the allergies to the kids, it would be no antagonist here. But sadly, it is. She did lie about it, so she is the antagonist. So, I feel like the decoy coy is giving the same response as the decoy decoy court. So let's go ahead and read the top comment right now to see what's going on. So the top comment says, you're the antagonist. You've been lying to your children your whole lives. You've completely undermined their ability to trust and respect you. They're reacting to organized civil disobedience, which is pretty great and justified when you're living under dishonest tyrants. Keep it up, kiddos. It's kind of messed up that, they're just trying to do the best for their kids and avoid red meat in the household, and now some internet strangers calling them out to being a dishonest tyrant. Like, that's a huge jump to me, at least in my opinion. Let's go ahead and get the next top comment saying, geez, of course you're the antagonist. Don't lie to your kids about allergies just because it suits your worldview. That's beyond controlling. They're going to grow up into an actual adults who will make their own decisions. They crossed a line, more like you literally lied to them. And they had to find out the hard way. It's your fault you don't gaslight your own kids by victimizing yourself. You're the antagonist times 100. And the one thing I would say with this right here is, yes, you're pretty much, they're controlling their kids, but they're kids. Until they're old enough to make their own life choices and pay their own bills and live on their own, parents should be kind of controlling the kids and what they're doing. Like, they share their worldview, but it's not like, if you don't get your worldview through your parents and your moral compass and your sense of right and wrong from your parents, who are you getting from? The neighborhood kids? The school? Like, no, that's all bad. So I feel like, yes, they should be controlled by the parents. Like, they're the parents, they're supposed to raise them. But let's read one more top comment saying, so you lied to your kids about having an allergy that you knew was incredibly rare and had no evidence that they in fact had. Yeah, no crap, you're the antagonist. Any good intentions you had, I can accept. Might you have had a good intentions and completely undermined by the fact that you lied to your children for years. So everybody's mad about the whole lying to your kids, which I feel like it's evidenced by how Reddit skews younger. So a lot of the times you're going to get these top and controversial comments from people that are younger. So like, they're always going to take sides of the kids because they feel like, oh man, if that was my mom doing it to me, I would be angry. But I guess if I'm a little bit older, I read the story and I take it from OP's side as a parent, like, oh, what would be the best way for me to raise my kids? So that's why we're kind of having a different look at it. So let's go ahead and read a couple of these Reddit these YouTube comments saying, yes, they're lying. Everybody seems to agree. Everybody thinks that they're the antagonists, and lying to the kids is what makes this whole situation bad. But let's go ahead and get to the top controversial comment saying, everyone sucks here. Your family are antagonists for swapping out the food. You're antagonist for lying to your kids. Also, given that you're both in the medical field, wouldn't you think it's wise to find out what your kids' food allergies actually are? I get that lactose isn't part of their diet, but don't you think one day they'll decide to try dairy? They probably would have. But your house, your rules. You're being an antagonist, but not because you won't let them bring meat into the house. And I guess it's just, do the means justify the ends? Yeah, kind of not really, but I guess it's too far. That's why they're getting blasted so hard. But we'll read one more top controversial comment to this story saying, everyone sucks here. You shouldn't have lied to them, but don't give them special treatment. If they want dinner, they can come down and eat at the table. And if your husband wants to let them eat meat, He can handle feeding them himself. So I mean, that's the thing, is you want the parents to be on a united front, especially when the kids outnumber the parents at like 3-1. So they should figure out a way to parent things and not let this start to cause a rift in the family. This whole idea with this poster right now is like, oh yeah, well, you know what? If the husband says that, go ahead and let him say that, because you know what? F him. He can start doing the feeding. I'm walking away from the situation. It's like, no, that's not a good management of the relationship. That's not good parenting, I don't think, at all. But I mean, comments over here. Yeah, so no one's really talking so much, but we were at 21 viewers. So if you're here right now, thanks for dropping by. Make sure you subscribe down below with the notifications on, because we are going to be doing some live streams every now and then if this one does well. But let's go ahead and get to the next post right now, which was on r/decoy_noise, suggested by Brunette Mountain Lion again, asking me to cover an Am I the Antagonist post of am I the antagonist for making my boyfriend get rid of his toy collection? So I guess I'm obviously going to be biased because I have lots of Funko Pops, I have lots of toys, I have lots of stuff going on over here, so I'm probably not going to give a very fair judgment. So OP wrote, my boyfriend has always called himself a kid at heart. He collects toys from quite a few different series: wrestling, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, X-Men, anime, etc. We're in our 20s. But they aren't for collecting purposes. They're all out of the box, and he plays with them. Whenever he thinks I'm asleep, I can hear him mimicking the voices of characters or doing commentary, and I'll peek in the room and see him actually playing with them. That's another thing. It's a small apartment, and he's got a whole room just for them, and a whole dresser full of parts and cards, their guns and weapons and such, but they're confined to that room. None of them are anywhere else. When he comes home from work, it's one of the first things he does: play with toys. We get packages from eBay or Amazon almost twice a week, but he still makes time for me. I thought it was cute and endearing at first, but we have a baby on the way, and my friends are laughing at me. Sounds like you're dating a 12-year-old. With the baby, I want to use that room for something like a nursery. I politely asked him how he'd feel about getting rid of them, but he said no. I said something about them giving them to a charity, but he said no again. I brought up that it could give us a lot of extra money if we sold them, but he denied it. I asked him about the baby. He said we'll just budget it out like we always do. How he'll spend less on figures, but selling his collection is out of the question. I told him that they could make some other kid, a less fortunate kid, happy. The teasing from my friends has continued. They all kept telling him he needs to grow up. Word got to his father. According to my boyfriend, his father wouldn't let him buy anything like that after 12, but when he moved out, he could buy all the figures he wanted. I showed him his dad pictures of the toy room, and he was shocked. He got mad and saying we're stopping that right now, that he wanted me to help him grow up. This morning, my boyfriend was sleeping, and when his dad came over, grabbed a big trash bag and started just grabbing handfuls and putting them inside. When he was almost done, I told my boyfriend what was going on, and it was for his own good. He ran out and saw the room was empty and his dad with 2 big trash bags, leaving with them. He tried taking the bag and begging him to quit, but he didn't. His dad said it's time to grow up. He started crying and sat down. But he was yelling at us about how those are all he does, even though he had me. Dad agreed with me. You got your lady and a kid on the way. You don't need this crap. He started sobbing. His dad put them in the car and left. He said he's tossing them in the trash. I told my boyfriend I was sorry, but it had to be done. To think about the baby, but then he yelled at me about he could throw stuff I collect away. He didn't actually throw them out, it was a bluff. It was actually donated to the thrift store. Was this truly wrong of me? So as always, we take the case over to Decoy Court. Well, I guess if I was on this jury, I would have to be thrown out because obviously I'm going to be on one side. But this is just a controlling person right here. This is like the worst person I've read. Not worst person I've read in a long time, but one of the worst things of all, where it's like she's trying to control OP in a very particular way. Like, you do something that's very benign, harmless, and you budget it out correctly like an adult. And this is in direct result of bad parenting because the parents were trying to control what he did. And using the baby as leverage to say, okay, I want you to do this very particular thing. I can't reasonably ask you to do it otherwise, but here, now I can get, the baby on the ways away. I can leverage my friends against you. My friends start pressuring you. Now let me get your dad to come actually strong arm you away this and physically force you to do it, upsetting you. Like, what is this right here other than probably a troll post? But aside from that, it's gotta be a situation where she is just like a Karen in other aspects of life, in the sense of like, I want to speak to your manager because you're not doing what I want you to do. Well, who's OP's boyfriend's manager? Probably your dad, I guess. So she's like, you won't do what I'm telling you to do, even though my friends and the baby is pressuring you and I'm pressuring you as OP. Let me go call your dad. Like, what grade are you in right now? So obviously, without regard, actually, you know what? No. Let's go ahead and get to the decoy defense first and try to say what would be the reason that she wouldn't be the antagonist. Is maybe she just has a very, very bad experience with Toy Story. Growing up, as a kid, she didn't really know what Toy Story was. Heard it was a great series. Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 are all amazing. I think there's a 4 or 2 as well. I don't know. Drop in the chat if there is a Toy Story 4. I don't even remember. But Toy Story 4 coming out. I mean, she was all ready to watch it, and then she never could as a kid because she didn't have money for food, or for the movies. So then she goes online and types in, what is it, Toy Story 3 or 4, and then it got her to Rule 34. So then she saw some pretty horrendous stuff on Google for Toy Story, so that she's like, no toys, I can't have it around the house. She tried to explain to him, but he's like, no, I have this or whatever. This is like, this is my thing. Loves playing with his action figures or whatever. So obviously the decoy defense is just something I pull out of my butt and I just try to think about on the spot. That could defend them, but obviously OP's the antagonist. Actually, and excluding the boyfriend, everyone sucks here because OP sucks because they're Karening their boyfriend, and also the dad sucks because it's just like, oh, I'm gonna force you to do things. Like, I can't imagine what their relationship is beyond the whole throwing away toys. But you know what? Before we get to those top and controversial comments, let me go ahead and read some of the live chat comments over here. Blaze Gamer likes a great decoy defense. It's a terrible defense. LO my Cat Smith says the defense is the dude is a hoarder, which could be true. I would actually agree with that if he is a hoarder, because that would actually, it's not just one room of one drawer, it's actually the entire drawer, and it looks like a whole action scene. Perpetual AE says this has to be a troll post. No way that someone is entitled. I think it's a troll post too, but I do personally know people that are this entitled, so I could kind of see that as well. What's up, Notch Tower 23? Thanks for coming by. Everybody thinks this person is a terrible spouse, which is very, very true. So let's go ahead and get to the top and controversial post just to see what Reddit is saying right now. So the top post was, you're the antagonist. Pretty sure you're about to be a single parent. Even though we don't want to condemn somebody to that status, it kind of seems like it might be that. Hopefully OP, the boyfriend or husband, is going to be able to get over this. Next reply was, agree 100%. What she did was hurtful and cruel. She also involved the father of the boyfriend. The father is also the antagonist here. Hopefully the poor guy will find someone who will appreciate him and accept his hobby. And that's the thing, is there could be much worse things that the boyfriend could be into. Maybe he's gonna start getting into alcoholism or something just because, or smoking a lot of pot or something. Not necessarily any of those things are inherently bad, but it's just like taken to the extreme. Like, I have toys, but I don't think I've played with them like I would as a kid, like building a little Lego house and like, having them go on an adventure or anything like that. But I guess this OP or the boyfriend here is the extreme of that. So maybe I can enjoy a couple drinks, but maybe the boyfriend just has that obsessive type personality where not only does he have to have all the toys, but buying toys every week, playing with them, doing voices, having little things. So if he gets into something else like whiskey, maybe he's gonna be like the ultimate alcohol hoarder or whatever. So she could push him down a very scary, different path. But we'll go to one more top comment saying, you're the antagonist. Wow, you are such the huge antagonist. People need hobbies. They need ways to cope with their jobs, relationships, and stress of their life. It doesn't matter what you find childish. It's something that your boyfriend enjoys and it's not hurting you financially, physically, or emotionally. Your friends making fun of your boyfriend isn't hurting you emotionally. By the way, that's just what you get for having crappy friends. You have zero communication with your boyfriend and are pushing an identity of toxic masculinity on him with the assistance from his father, who is clearly an antagonist. You didn't make him get rid of it. Let's be clear. You threw away his personal property with extreme personal value. I have a husband with extremely niche hobby. It's weird. He has a podcast in a very obscure sport, but want to know what? You have an entire room just for his record. We have an entire room for his recording studio. I don't even like the sport. I listen to every single episode of his podcast. It makes him happy. So if it makes you happy, make sacrifices. He can have just one effing thing that's just for him. You don't care about anyone except for yourself, and it shows. I hope he leaves you, and he deserves better. Which is sad because the kid is involved with the situation here. But yeah, this is all about her image. Like, she wants to have the perfect baby and the perfect family and the perfect husband. Nothing wrong with that. But not accepting him for who he is insane to me. Like, let him play with toys. Let him get into a hobby as long as it's, podcasting or toys or something that's not hurting anybody or putting them in a financial burden. There's much worse things that there is. I wholeheartedly believe that if OP walks away from this relationship, becomes, single or with somebody else, and they actually have genuine problems, legit problems, not recreationally, not where OP can be recreationally offended by something, where if she was so busy with her podcast or so busy with her baking channel or so busy with her hobby of her own, she would never even notice that the boyfriend was into that thing. She's making up problems for herself. But let's go ahead and get to the controversial section, because maybe we'll find something more I don't know, entertaining? I don't know how this would go. But the top controversial post right now is for making him get rid of toys, i.e. literally stealing them by accosting him along with what sounds like an emotionally abusive father and taking them while he cried and begged you to stop. Which is what you asked about. You're the antagonist. Big time. What the heck? That's a horrible way to treat a human being, especially someone you supposedly care about. People are allowed to have unusual hobbies, and you not having enough backbone to tell your friends to stuff it is about your insecurities, not as toys. Bullying, violating, emotionally abusing your partner is inexcusable. And that is exactly what you did. There's no world in which it had to be done. The fact that you would do this frankly makes me worried about the kind of parent you'll be. But for the situation as a whole, everyone sucks here if he genuinely expected you to keep his toy room as is after the baby comes. It's definitely effed up for one member of the couple to have a whole room dedicated to just their hobby when their partner doesn't have a comparable space for their own, not to mention a baby on the way. There is no good reason he couldn't put most of his toys in storage until you guys are able to afford a place with more space. Babies do require sacrifice. And him, okay, I feel like, oh no, this one. Okay, so this one, I get it. We kind of get what they're saying. It's going to be a long read, but it sounded like the boyfriend was ready to say, okay, cool, I'll spend less on it, we'll budget, we'll do what we always have. And the whole room, they said he had a whole drawer dedicated to it, and that was his playroom. Well, I don't know, unless they're like entirely small, like choking hazard toys, the baby would probably be ecstatic to be around a whole bunch of colorful things that the dad's gonna be able to play and have little stories with and stuff like that with them. It seemed like a net positive. It didn't seem like the father was ever going to not be reasonable with his hobby. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with my original thing saying that, OP, you're the biggest antagonist here. It's super messed up what you're doing. But before we get to the next one, let's go ahead and read a couple more stories over here. Oh, it is freezing. Yeah, sorry guys. I guess my connection is not that great. It says it's not as lower than recommended. So hopefully it kind of bounces back right now. Maybe I can move my computer a different spot more directly in front of the router, but yeah. And so Perpetual AE says the hobby could be made way worse. Katie says she hopes the boyfriend sues the oh, what the heck? So, okay, well, I guess, you know what, I guess you guys are just buffering, so I can still stream like regular, it's just gonna be choppy. Sorry about that. Maybe I gotta figure out what's making my connection so slow. But everybody else saying, so, Katie wants the boyfriend to sue the OP and the dad. He seems like he's just gonna be kind of sad for a while and get over it, but I mean, it is kind of messed up. Hopefully this post right here can get back to OP and make OP kind of change their mind as to how they're dealing with their life or whatever. But you know, we've done a bit of Am I the Antagonist right now. How about let's go ahead and hop over to r/relationships, because Decoy Court is doing different things now. So over on r/relationships, we have I'm a 22-year-old female, ex-boyfriend, a 23-year-old male, wants our mutual friends to pick a side. So OP wrote, he dumped me about a month ago. It was hard because we were living in the same apartment, but it was largely mutual. We had been together for 3 years and it wasn't working anymore. While we were together, I befriended one of his longtime friends, a 24-year-old male, also the long-term boyfriend of my best friend, his first cousin, 24-year-old male, who he's been close with. This bothered him from the beginning. He was fine with seeing them all in a group setting with him there, but anything less than that and he'd become angry and jealous. Even if my best friend was there, all as well, he was never comfortable with me around them if he wasn't there. Fast forward to now, I moved in with a childhood friend, a 22-year-old male, after the breakup, and said friend is close with his ex-boyfriend's cousin. His cousin has been coming over a couple times a week to watch movies and drink, etc. with the both of us. Problem is, ex-boyfriend found out and is irate. He thinks his cousin has ulterior motives, doesn't really enjoy my company as a friend, and wants to get in my pants essentially. He wants his cousin and my best friend's boyfriend to both pick a side and is implying that he'll drop them completely from his life if they have contact with me. He's already seeing another girl, which makes me particularly confused as to why he cares so much. I really wasn't trying to start anything, I just didn't want to give up these friendships. They're all completely innocent on my side. We've been friends for 3 years and all wishing this wasn't happening. Too long didn't read, ex-boyfriend found out that I'm still friends with his cousin and longtime close friend, is trying to force them to drop me. Is there anything I can do here? Am I wrong? So, as always, we take the case over to Decoy Court, and here's the thing, is I understand the whole, you make good friends when you're in a relationship, and, you know, a healthy relationship is when you're friends with their friends, and it's all like, you know, a happy, good thing where you guys can all go out together, have group date nights, or just big hangouts, or go to parties and everything. But sad to say, it's going to complicate things if you guys are still, if you're still friends with their family afterwards. Like, what happens when he gets married, or what happens when he's having kids, and he always has this nagging thing where it's like, oh, my ex-girlfriend knows about all my business, knows when I got married, knows when I have a new job, knows when I'm in a new hobby, or was in an accident or something. It's something that he wants to go cold turkey. Maybe they say they broke up on, you know, a mutual breakup, but maybe he has lingering thoughts, and maybe it's not even him that's mad. It's actually the girlfriend that's mad, or his new girlfriend. Like, why is she still around? When he shows up at his cousin's house, he's gonna have to see the friend. I mean, I'm sorry, not the friend, the ex-girlfriend OP right here. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and say that, yeah, she should probably let go of those people. It's one of those things where it's gonna suck, but it's not a good thing to keep this lingering extra relationship going on, in my opinion. But I guess a decoy defense in this situation would have to be that maybe, I guess I'm just going, the decoy defense is arguing the same thing, but maybe the cousin is actually legitimately trying to get at OP, and OP's just playing stupid. Like, yeah, you know, maybe he wants to, maybe he doesn't. He's a good friend. Like, you know, when they friend zone people. Oh, I'm saying the name Derek. I'm just making it up. But it's like, oh, not Derek. He's just a friend. No, Derek, he doesn't mean anything. I'm not worried about him or whatever. But in the entire time, it's like going over to get drinks, watching movies, and hanging out. It's like, what do they have in common? They're just hanging out just to you know, get to know each other, and that's making them uncomfortable. So I could see that, why that being a thing. Obviously, I didn't decoy defense myself. I disagreed with myself twice. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that, yes, slightly, no one sucks here, but I still want to say that everybody sucks here, because you should probably walk away from the situation. It's sticky. It's rough. Breakups are weird, especially when the family is involved and the extra friends are and everything, but I think everybody needs to walk away from this. But let me go ahead and pop over to the Reddit comments over here. As Catsmith says, God forbid some dude enjoy his girl's company. How scandalous. Decoy, if X and OP don't talk to each other, I don't see the problem. But the only reason I would see that as a problem is if, when OP sees his, no, I'm sorry, when the ex-boyfriend sees his cousin, he might run into the ex all the time. And it's like, I know that that's a situation where it's like, buzz off, like, we broke up, let it go, go live your own life right now. The next reply from Natchtera says, you know, that's toxic. Perpetual AE says, it seems he's jealous the guy can't force someone to choose a side. They can have multiple friends, even if you don't like them. Doesn't need to, you can force them to cut them off. And the one thing is, you don't want to force anybody to live life like your cousin and everything, but honestly, it's like, I've had breakups where it's just a situation where, okay, cool, in order for me to move on and get into the rest of my life, I would prefer to say, hey, that person, we're going no contact now. Stop bringing them back in my life. Stop updating them with what it is. Like, even if it's something as simple as a social media post where I'm like posting something online and then my ex is able to come back and find what I'm doing, it's just uncomfortable for me. I just want it to be over. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But I'm glad that you guys have a different opinion of mine, because that's why we do this sort of thing. So let's go ahead and get to the top comments right now to see if everybody else is thinking that. So the top comment was, the best thing you can do is not to ask people to choose side. Let him be the bad guy here. And the thing is, though, is he's going to be the bad guy for wanting to move on. I guess I have a very different opinion as to everybody else here. And the next reply was, yeah, just step back and let him alienate himself from everyone. So they really don't like OP and me for having this opinion. I'm sorry, the boyfriend and me for having this opinion. So the next top reply was, are they telling you, or is he telling you? If he is, just block him. If they are, tell them that sucks and you hope you can continue your friendship. And you're not asking them to pick sides, and you have no problem if they're also friends with your ex and you enjoy their friendship and hope it continues. Just mention it once, then move on to your other topics, and don't harp on your ex to hopefully show them that you're reasonable and the low drama one. So the one thing I would say, I guess I would have a different perspective on the situation than other people, because I've had it where, yeah, relationships, yeah, they mutually break up, but they always want to stay relevant. And I'm sure everybody watching this channel right now has either seen this with one of their friends, or had that happen to you, where you break up with somebody and they're just like, it's not over. No, we're just taking a break. No, we're gonna get back together. No, they just want their freedom. They'll come back, and you have someone that just desperately strives to stay relevant in your life, coming back, trying to show up at places you're at, trying to, like, you know, hit up your friends or go to the same social media accounts as you are and, like, you know, tag you in them. And it's a situation where you're like, hey, this isn't healthy. We need to move on. Maybe we end up together. Maybe we don't. But honestly, the whole you hitting up my cousin and trying to hang out, are you still trying to go to movies with one of my friends? What are you doing? Like, why can't you live your own life type of situation? Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but that's my kind of skew of this. We'll go ahead and read a couple more of the live comments over here. which is okay. So no more live comments as we go on. So let's go ahead and read one more story from r/unpopular opinions, which I haven't covered before, but I mean, I feel like that's a good place. So r/unpopular opinions were Instagram models are creepy. So this person wrote, "That's right, I said it. As a guy who likes girls, Instagram models are creepy as heck. Their profile is only pictures of themselves. They have nothing going on in their lives. They have no interests or hobbies, only selfies. No matter how attractive they seem at first. I see 1,000 pictures of them and just feel nauseated. 1,000 pictures of them in different environments, but it's always about them. The subject matter of the photo is always focused on them. To me, it looks like all they think about is themselves. If you talk to someone who can only hold a conversation about themselves, it would be off-putting. I view social media pages the same way. What are you expressing? A picture is worth 1,000 words, but 1,000,000 selfies is worth nothing." And it took someone's advice. So, and in a very award-winning post, they're saying that they find Instagram models creepy. And the one thing I will say is it's got to be seen over in decoy court. And what I would say in this situation is, oftentimes people find things that are online that are very niche, and they say, that's creepy, or I don't like this, or I don't like the way that is, or whatever. You guys are weird. And I've covered this before when decoy noise was something very, very different. But there was that girl, Bella Delphine. She did a thing where she was selling her bathwater, and she had videos where she was just like playing with a squid in a tub, and people were just eating it up. And everybody's like, oh my God, she's so weird, she's so crazy. And on some level, I know it's two things. It's one, it's not necessarily that person. It's, you know, she's doing it as a job, as an occupation, making lots and lots of money. And if I had the opportunity to do this channel with my 16 viewers, or I had the opportunity to have a squid in the camera with me and make millions of dollars, I think I'd choose the squid. So it's a situation where it's like, maybe not necessarily she's the off-putting one or the weird one in that situation. It's the ones that are buying that content that are, you know, she's getting paid to do it, but they're paying to see it. So it's not as much, you know, the producer as it is the consumer. And the second part I would say about that is the idea that we're all kind of just jealous. Like he's saying Instagram models are creepy, but if this poster right here could make the insane amount of $100,000 to post something on Instagram for 24 hours, they would probably do it too. The idea is they say, you know, they have no interests or no hobbies, all it is selfies. Well, I imagine these people that have, you know, hundreds of thousands of subscribers or possibly millions of subscribers do a bit of like split testing, where it's like they'll post a picture of them with the Funko Pop and it's 1-to-1 ratio, and they'll post a picture of like just them and cleavage and the Funko Pop in the bottom corner, and get, you know, the first one got 100 likes and the second one got 200,000 likes. What else are they going to post more of? They know who their audience is, they know who they're catering to. So the idea that all they do is they post those things, that's what their job is, and they're just trying to give their audience what it is. The idea that this person says, you know, I see these thousands of pictures and I feel nauseated. Like, why are you judging this person so heavily? Just don't look at it. Why are you feeling nauseated? The idea is like, you know, they can't hold a conversation because all they do is post selfies. And the thing is, though, is it's just not for you. You're not the consumer. Like, I'm not going to blast anybody right now, but I will go ahead and say that, you know, I have a personal experience with one of my friends who was just a good-looking guy, and he just wasn't like, you know, he wasn't going to be splitting the atom anytime soon. Nothing against that. I couldn't do it either, but he just wasn't, you know, wasn't known for being very witty and just very vain, which is okay. And I remember when he met another girl that was very, like, you know, Instagram famous, and she was very pretty and, you know, had all the guys liking her, but also was kind of like at the same, like, you know, intelligence as he was. It was actually kind of charming to see them interact with each other and be together, because they were very like eye-to-eye level, like where they understood each other at a very, like, you know, visceral level, because they were both kind of like, you know, each other's, like, you know, male and female equivalent. The idea that he's saying like, oh my God, that's nauseating to see this Instagram account, and, you know, I couldn't hold a conversation with them, and all they would do is talk about themselves, and, you know, the picture's worth 1,000 words, and all they want to do is talk about themselves, how bad. It's like, well, maybe this isn't the right person for you. Like, what's wrong with it? You know, what's wrong with that? The idea is that there's a whole bunch of people agreeing with this. Makes me feel like maybe they're on board with this. But I guess there's no antagonist here, obviously, but I would just go ahead and say that it's okay for everybody to be into different things. I'm pretty sure if you're into Instagram, the more things you interact with, like if I'm on there and I interact with, like, you know, K-pop postings and Shiba Inu postings and NBA postings, all I see is more of that. It's very, very, like, tuned to, like, your likings. If this person's seeing more Instagram influencers and models that have just nothing but selfies, he's got to be interacting with those posts way more than he is in other things. But before we get to the top comments, let's go ahead and shoot over to the comments over here. So Perpetual AE has lots to say, but that's from Okay, but about the other post, which was, you know, I see where you're coming from, Decoy, but the guy can ask him to never mention her name again instead of cutting them off. So that's from the other story, and that probably would be a better middle ground for them to sit down and say, okay, you know what? Maybe you don't do the whole, what do you call it? What am I trying to say? Maybe you don't do the whole cutting everybody off, but they just have a kind of an agreement of just like, no, girlfriend, don't bring my ex-girlfriend around, don't share posts with her and all that stuff. So I could see that being a thing. Cat Smith says with this post, I see where LP's coming from. I never use Instagram though, which is true. It's like, you know, if you're not into that sort of thing, why are you on the platform in the first place? Why is he looking at all these Instagram models with nothing but selfies to get mad about it? I don't get that. Maybe there's a reason. And then Perpetual says, influencers is someone else. I agree their main priority is always selfies and media is always focused on them, but not their creepy. But they're not creepy, they're just self-aware. And if he's really bothered, he should ignore it. And he shouldn't judge them, which I also agree with. Like, if you don't like it, walk away. The whole situation where it's like, you know, I'm nauseated, how dare they? And he's getting so angry that he had to post this on Reddit. I guess that's one of those first world problems to me, but let's go ahead and get to some top comments right now. Over here. So the top comment saying, imagine waking up every day excited to check your feed to see pictures of the same people you've seen 1,000 times before. And that seems almost like kind of a gatekeepy to me, where it's like, hey, imagine me be excited every single day to wake up and watch basketball to see some guys try to put a basketball in a net. Like, oh my God, how boring would that be? And it's like, well, you don't understand the subtle nuances of it. Like, honestly, from the outside looking in, I think NASCAR looked boring, but I didn't realize that, you know, there's teams in NASCAR, there's drifting and entire tread and what do you call it, gasoline management and stuff. There's a lot that's involved in NASCAR that makes it very, very interesting if you're really engulfed in that world. But if you're from the outside, it's like, these guys are just driving cars. Like, I drive a car. Why is that? This seems boring or whatever. And that's the same thing with this poster right here saying, like, man, I can't imagine every day waking up to see them post the same thing 100,000 times before. And it's like, well, maybe there's different captions. Maybe they're in a different area. Maybe there's a challenge, or maybe they're trying to do something with a different poster. Maybe just they like supporting somebody making money, because whenever they post something with Slim Fit TM in the picture, they know they made 10 grand. It's like, wow, man, I aspire to be like that. I want to make money just like you and live the good life. So it's hard to say. But the next reply to that saying, I can't understand the girls who make money out of followers and like counts, but most of them can't even get there. The worst is people who constantly like their picture are the guys they wouldn't want anything to do with. So there's a couple things I would say with this is the idea of success and trying to be successful. So they say, hey, I understand if a girl's got 100,000 subscribers because she's making money on it, but if you only have 1,000 subscribers, oh, you're lame. That's dumb. But it's like, what's wrong with aspiring to do better? I feel like I got that same thing in the very beginning of Decoy Noise, where every single comment that was criticizing me was like, congrats on having 12 subscribers, Decoy. Oh, I don't like your opinion, but I saw you only have 40 subscribers, so you're dumb. I only have 2,500 right now, and it's actually kind of difficult for me to grow. But the idea that people judge you for trying to do better, for being in the infancy of, you know, developing your brand, developing your career or something. Like, why is that to me? I never understand why it would be such a big deal for someone like, oh, a girl's posting all these selfies and she's not worldwide famous, so yeah, now I can judge her. That I don't like that idea. Like, let them grow, let them try. Even if they fail, what's wrong with that? Don't hate on them to bring them back. And then also the idea is they say, you know, worse is people constantly like the pictures of the guys they wouldn't want anything to do with. It's like, that's this forever. Like Sports Illustrated swimsuit models, or the original Playboy, or any movie that was in black and white. It was all these actresses and models that probably wouldn't interact with the men that are buying the magazines, getting the movie ticket, or consuming the media. Why? Just because on social media you can see the list of people that liked it and consume the media doesn't mean that this is wrong. That's just the way the world works. Everybody's kind of gatekeeping here. But let's go ahead and read another top comment saying, I love that the quote is, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but 1,000,000 selfies is worth nothing. Also, I absolutely agree with you. Very gatekeepy in my opinion. The idea is like, you know, the whole, yeah, if picture's worth 1,000 words, like, I don't know, what's that post, what's that subreddit, like, I'm a teenager and this is deep, or it's just like, yes, everybody's patting each other on the back saying, oh, good job, we're so smart. Like, I don't know, like, my picture, my artistic picture I posted is so deep and introspective, but your selfie's worth nothing. I think it's one of those situations where they're not getting as much social media praise and validation as these people posting selfies. It's somewhat jealous, and then they just kind of get angry. But that's my opinion on it. We'll read a couple more of these live comments right now saying, Cat Smith says, I mean, I wake up looking through Facebook, looking at posts from people on my feed every day. And then Drago Gaming, finally you made it to a live stream. Yeah, actually, unfortunately, I appreciate you coming by, but we're sitting here at an hour right now. So probably gonna wrap it up. As always, thanks for hanging out. And you know, we had, I think, 20 viewers at one point in time before I started lagging. So that was kind of fun. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing so you can know when I'm going to be going live next time. I feel like if this one does well, I will do more, but if not, you know, who knows if I'll pop on here again. But as always, thanks for hanging out with me and doing this whole decoy live stream. You know, if you made it this far, you obviously like the channel, you got the celebration with the confetti. Let me know in the comments afterwards if you like this type of content or you just want me to go back to regular, you know, 10-minute videos every day, which is kind of, I don't know, something different. But you know, let me know in the comment section below. But as always, if you haven't seen the other videos the first time around, go ahead and watch the next video over there. Thanks for hanging out.